What's up, my people? How you guys doing? My name is Frank Words, but you already knew that. Where did people go wrong? Was it the parenting style or was it the society? Well, this literally brings me to my episode today. My name is Frank Words, like you already know, and I'm your host the most. You're welcome to the box. On the box, we'll talk about sensitive stuff that you guys will normally not want to talk about. So now we're talking about reformative parenting, right? But before we talk about the reformed style of parenting, let's talk about the former type of parenting. The kind of parenting that the older generation from the 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s, and upwards had, yeah? The kind of parenting that basically circled around domination, control, punishment. The kind of real parenting that gives you sense. That moment where, as an African child, right, you don't really need your mom to tell you so much. For instance, in the US, you get, this is a hypothetical scenario. Say Junior is playing games, say by 10 o'clock, and his bedtime is 9 o'clock, so his mom somewhere in the US sees him playing game way past his bedtime, and she's like, "Oh, you're still playing games? Why are you playing games? Go to your room." And he's like, "Screw you, mom, I want to play games." That's basically what you get in the US. But when it comes to Nigeria, our parents had a certain way of instilling discipline and punishment, especially the mothers, right? So in Nigeria, imagine that Chike is playing game and Chike is supposed to wash plates, and Chike's mom has been in her room all day. Chike has been playing this game and not washing plates, and his mom is going out and she sees Chike playing game. She now looks at Chike like this and tells Chike, "I'm going out though, the plates are in the kitchen, you're still playing game." Oh, Chike will be like, "Yes, mom." And then his mom tells him, "When I come back, continue playing the games and don't wash the plate, okay?" And she goes, ladies and gentlemen, you already know what Chike will do, right? As a Nigerian child, obviously those places will never be there. That's like wisdom. That's as wisdom behind the camera was passing wisdom. That's how African moms pass wisdom, right? So the older generation had a very interesting style of learning and teaching and all. But reformative parenting, do you think that there could be slight improvements in the discipline style that parents had? Because, guy, let's face it, these kids these days are not kids anymore. Like, I'm not saying this in a wrong perspective. I'm just saying that they are not exposed to the kind of things we were exposed to as kids. The only tool we had to play with was stuff outside. But these days, these kids have iPhone 13s, have unlimited access to internet. There's generational gap between you guys and them, so they know so much, right? So do you feel like if parents have the same strategy, the same parenting style, when parenting becomes too interrogative or too analytical, you get to create rebels, right? Because these kids want to express themselves in a certain way, and you want them to express themselves in a certain way that pleases just you as a parent. This child grows either losing himself or finding himself with the wrong means. That's how you have rebellion, right? One of the ways, obviously, I'm not saying, but reformative parenting basically teaches parents these days to absorb the concept of first learning to understand your child and knowing how to connect with the person's thought process, right? Why this kid is acting like this. You're not being, a lot of times, right, parents tend to lose reality or lose touch of reality in the sense that they forget that there are people who are also prone to making errors, who have made errors in the past, who most likely have been in the same shoes as these kids, right? And all of a sudden they start to become hypocritical, right? Now your hypocritical perspective starts to rub off on your child. Your child starts to see your parent or his or her parent as perfect, right? So your child is too scared to be imperfect around you, right? That's the kind of parenting style that a lot of people from the older generation went through. But reformative parenting is saying, okay, don't be too perfect. Don't think of yourself as perfect with your child. Think of yourself as a person with another person who just happens to be your child. So if your child feels comfortable to talk to you as a parent about the things that they feel they've done wrong, that's when you're getting it right. But if your child feels like, oh crap, I fucked up and the last person I need to know about my fuck up is my parents, then you need to sit down, relax, take a pen and paper and take notes, because guys, we're going to give you guys real tips on how to get this thing rolling. Never mind the fact that parenting is an impossible process to get perfect, because everybody keeps living every day, but we get to learn, right? And we get to change and improve our perspectives. So my number one thing today that I feel like reformative parenting has taught parents or will teach parents in the future is the concept of reinforcement, or should I say reward system, right? Obviously, we know that you must have heard, Folake, wash this plate and I'll dash you 200 naira, or come first in your annual result and then I'll buy you a bicycle. That has always been the traditional reward system that we've been used to. But that's also something that the new school or the more recent parents can harness. Even though it has its downsides too, it takes away the process of learning, the advantage, the real reason for learning. For instance, imagine that you always had to reward your child for making his or her bed. Every time you say, oh, when you wake up in the morning and you make your bed, I'll get you an extra candy, or I'll get you an extra pack of juice, or I'll do this, right? Now obviously your kid is going to wake up to want to do that, but will that not really take away the consciousness of knowing that, oh, you have to actually go through the unpaid process, or the unpaid process of making your bed as a child, right? So when you have to practice the reward system, you have to actually understand that there's like a mix to it. You don't take away the child's reason for knowing, right? So as a reformative parent who wants to encourage your child to do more, basically, right? Get your child to do more by promising these gifts, it has to be very ideal. It has to be with precision, and that is basically up to you as a parent to do it as you please, right? Now we'll move on to the second method, or the second reformative parenting style that this generation can actually benefit from, right? It's the one that humor and distraction, right? I mean, do you ever feel like, if as a parent you have a sense of humor that your child is constantly in touch with, you'll be able to be more receptive of your child's information, and your child will be able to feel more at home talking to you about their problems. This is basically trying to understand, like I said, remember, understanding your child's perspective, right? Your child comes to you and tells you something that happened, and you think of the smartest way to respond, but in a humorous form, right? And you always make your child feel like, okay, it's not that bad, it's not too bad, it can always be fixed, and you make a joke out of it. This is like one way you can try to help your kids learn to conversate more with you, and also not become deviant or rebellious. But this also has its limitations, because you don't also want to pass off as the one that always makes jokes about your child's problems. For me, I feel like it's great to like roast your kids. You have to roast them first before they go out to the world and accept more roasting. So I mean, look at the best comedians in the world. Their parents literally introduce them to roasting. They have to yab them, teach them to accept how to get roasted. I mean, you don't want to be that socially awkward child that doesn't know how to take a joke. Now imagine someone makes a joke about you and you take it personal and you start fighting. It means your parents didn't really do a great job in making you understand how the real world is. So while you try to practice humor, also make sure that there's the leverage to being serious, because your kids can't come to you with real stuff and you want to always be humorous, or you always want to respond with humor and make a joke out of it. Then that's when it gets bad. So move on to the last and the third one, and this is like personally the most interesting part for me. It's focusing on the positives, right? Even as an individual, you as a parent or as an individual, you don't like to be in a position where whoever has to be in charge of telling you what to do always and is consistently poking or picking on your flaws, the things that you don't do right, and then they ignore the things that you do right. I mean, even in a relationship, as friends or as partners or as armed robbers. Why did I even say that? I don't know though. But really though, if you have any connection with anybody, right? What do you want the most from the next person? Everybody wants something, right? Everybody wants something. And some people might want to differ and say, oh, not everybody wants acceptance, or not everybody wants to be encouraged. But everybody likes to be appreciated. Everyone. Because that's why you even tell your kids to learn to always say thank you when you get them stuff, because you want them to learn the importance of appreciation. So, do you feel like your kids will be more productive when you are less appreciative? I mean, do you appreciate the things that they do right? Say they do 9 wrong things and then they do one thing right. Here's the catch to parenting with the idea of focusing on the positive parts, right? You may get them to learn to do like 2 more things that they did wrong right when you concentrate on the one thing they did right. Like, oh, you did this correctly, cool. If you did the other stuff the way you did this, won't have issues, we'll be fine. And then the kid mentally wants to get that reward, wants to get that acknowledgement that you gave for the one thing they did. And guess what? The other 9 things we did wrong may start to change. So just keep concentrating on the good things that people do around you. This is even beyond reformative parenting or even parenting itself. Basically, you just have to learn to appreciate effort of your kids, regardless of whether it is what you want. Because that one now is another side. If you get to find out a lot of times, parents these days are caught up with the concept of what they want for their kids and what their kids want for themselves, and then you start to realize that your parents want the best for their kids, but they don't want whatever their kid wants for themselves. I mean, kids have to be taught, kids have to be corrected, kids have to be guided. But then when you get to do too much of correcting and overflogging of issues, bro, you're most likely going to get a rebel. And I'm not even playing with you. Society has too many rebels. We need to get this kid to be more productive and more idealistic and have better approaches to solving things. You don't want your kids caught up in drugs or gangster life and all that shit that makes them end up 6 feet, right? So basically, learn to connect with your kids, learn to relate with them, learn how to adjust with the times, because these kids are way advanced, man, too advanced. So you have to advance, update your relationship with them. And as a person, whether or not you have kids, learn to realize that you have the sole responsibility of raising a smarter younger generation. So do better, be better, say better, whatever. I'm out.